Should you buy a PS5 in 2024? Since the launch of the next generation consoles 4 years ago, both the Xbox and PlayStation have seen some massive changes. And with the upcoming release of the PS5 Pro, it brings up the huge question as to which platform you should choose.
So if I'd have made this video only a couple of weeks ago, I would have said the PS5 wasn't the console to go for really in 2024. Xbox had announced the new consoles, a lot of games coming to Game Pass with Indiana Jones, and on the whole, Sony have been insanely quiet. Like, we've not heard anything from them. A couple of games, there's Silent Hills, that Concord game that, let's not talk about that, but then nothing at all compared to the 2023 that was super busy with the PSVR 2, the PS5 Slim, the PlayStation Portal, Spider-Man 2, so many different first-party games and exclusives that were just dropping almost every month. 2024 has been awful for Sony gamers until literally like last week, 2 weeks ago, when we got the PS5 Pro. And not only just the PS5 Pro, we got a 30th anniversary edition console.
In the meantime, Sony have hosted a State of Play. Let's talk about everything that was announced. I'm not even kidding, a few hours after I finished filming this video, Sony went ahead and hosted this event literally out of nowhere. Now, my biggest complaint was obviously the lack of new games coming to the PlayStation platform to warrant the reason to purchase a PS5 Pro. And this still stands true, especially at launch. Of course, we're going to have really great titles like Hogwarts Legacy, have graphical increases, The Last of Us, Gran Turismo 7, and a whole bunch of other games, as well as that whole backwards compatibility thing where there's 8,500 PS4 games or something that's going to be working on the PS5 Pro with upgrades. So we ain't short of games to play. We're just short of new games to play that justify the reason why you need a new console that's $700 to play those. But next year, we will be getting some cool games for the PS5 Pro, such as the new Ghost of Tsushima, which is called Ghost of Yotai. This is going to be set around 300 years in the future, and it's a completely new character. The protagonist that you're playing as, it's actually a woman this time. And to be honest, from what I've read, I don't really see how it's a sequel or anything like that, because it's set 300 years after the other games. I've got no idea how they're going to continue something with that amount of time passed. But hey, we'll see. Graphically, it looks very good, which is to be expected because the last game looked insane, and the last game was very, very good. So this for sure will be a strong title. Now, interestingly, there are a bunch of new PSVR 2 games coming to the Sony platform, literally out of nowhere. I thought this thing was kind of dead, to be honest, especially based off of some news articles talking about its sales. But there's going to be Metro Awakening, which is a PSVR 2 title coming in November, on the launch day of the PS5 Pro, actually. And another one that sparked my interest was Hitman World of Assassination in VR, also coming in December this year. I think this is good. It shows that they are still supporting their accessories and products, and they are committed to delivering on those, so there's no complaints here. And hopefully with the PS5 Pro, we will get some very good performance inside of these VR titles, which, to be honest, was already pretty good. I quite like the performance of the PSVR 2 on the regular PS5. It's very easy virtual reality setup, great stuff. Now, there will also be a remaster of Horizon Zero Dawn. It'll be a $10 upgrade for people who already own this game. But again, great game, but it's a PS4 title, mate. This is the biggest issue with the PS5 Pro and the justification of purchasing one. They're basically just remastering PS4 games that you could play perfectly fine on a PS4, PS4 Pro, PS5 anyways. So why do we need games that are like 4-5 years old running on a $700 console? Why do we suddenly need a $700 console to play these games that already should be way past the capabilities of a PS5 or anyways? But I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below and any games that I might have missed here.
But before we talk about the brand new PS5 Pro, let's just discuss the generation as a whole so far. It's been 4 years since the PS5 came out, and how does that actually compare to Xbox? But probably the biggest question is, sure, the past's been good, but what's the future going to entail if you are thinking about investing into a new console or even switching away from the current platform that you're on? Woo! Let's get on the main road. Ah, beautiful. Ah, beautiful. Back to the video. I think what Sony did this time around with the console generation was very clever, almost like the Apple of consoles. They've been a little bit higher at the price points, but they've created an entire ecosystem of products that integrates beautifully with one another, where you get the console and you've got loads of matching first-party peripherals, from charging docks to controllers to Pro controllers with the PlayStation Edge. Then you've got the PlayStation Portal, PS5 VR, PS5 VR 2, PSVR 2, which use another accessory that complements another way of gaming if that's what you want to do. And all of them match the master console beautifully. It's not just like Xbox where you've got like the black Xbox Series X and then just a black controller, or the robot white Xbox Series S and then a white controller. These are like works of art, you could say, in terms of how the different products complement one another. And that's something that I really liked. It's made building gaming setups very easy. It's not, if you've never built out a gaming setup, it makes everything match super well. Whereas I remember when I was a kid, you'd have like your Xbox 360 and a load of random like third-party accessories, stuff with not matching. So from an aesthetic standpoint, especially if the console is going to be in like a living room, beautiful. It means you can have an entire lineup of products matching one another without even trying. And that's great. But with that does come a premium on the pricing front. And of course, both the regular PS5 with a disc drive or a PS5 all digital were kind of pricey compared to at least Xbox, where you could have an Xbox Series S for or below £200 if you got it on a sweet little deal. That allowed you to have an entry point that was much lower into the gaming market. And something that I actually learned recently was when I was over in Poland with G2A for some meetings, I learned that over 50% of gamers can't even afford a game full price at like $60, $70, $80. So something like the Xbox Series S is incredibly underrated and often overlooked by like YouTubers and tech reviewers who want the pinnacle of technology and view it in a bit of a snobby way, like, oh, it's just a budget console that's holding back the generation. It's actually, for a lot of people, the perfect access point. There's a police car behind me right now, so better be careful, mate. Better be careful. Get your hands on the wheel. Get both hands on the wheel. 2 police cars. Bloody hell. Must know I like this road. So anyways, as I was saying on the pricing front, the way that Sony structured it was the old digital edition console was cheaper, and then the physical disc edition was obviously more expensive, around $80 to $100 more expensive, from what I recall. Now, initially, I had the old digital edition console because that was the only one that was in stock that I managed to get my hands on in 2021. But the Sony store really was a bit of a rip-off at launch. Like, games were always full price. You get the exact same game for about £25 on the disc on Amazon versus $60 on the Sony store. So the value for money you instantly lost not having that disc drive. Straight away, you were down 1-0 off the gate. Whereas more latterly, and a few years into the console generation, Sony's frequently doing sales on the store. So I haven't felt as penalized not having a disc drive. And obviously since then, I've had the Slim with a disc drive, the PS5 Fat OG console with a disc drive. I've tried all the variations for YouTube videos, but I'm still buying my games most of the time digitally because I'm managing to get them in regular flash sales on the Sony store, which is fantastic. So at least I believe they probably listened to consumer feedback to an extent there, because so many people just couldn't buy the latest games because they were $60, $70 and there was no other way of getting them other than through alternative or digital marketplaces. Now, while I am on the topic of games, I want to specifically focus on what games I've been playing on the PS5. Now, in past videos, I've talked about how I used the Sony console as like a single player console, and then I used the Xbox as a multiplayer console, which loads of people got really angry about, which I don't really understand why. So my Xbox Series S and X I would use for Game Pass, multiplayer, and play with my mates online because I just prefer the party chat system. And then on my PS5, I would predominantly play single player games in there because obviously most of the games on the PS5 are single player first party exclusives. God of War, single player. I was playing Hogwarts Legacy, but I played that on PS5 because it had exclusive DLC at launch. Then of course you've got Spider-Man 2, single player. You've got The Last of Us Part 2, which was the remaster, which is single player. Ratchet & Clank is single player, so it naturally lends itself to that genre of game because I can play all the other titles that have multiplayer on my Xbox or even on my gaming PC, which I would much rather. So it wasn't me being funny or an Xbox fanboy, like labeling the PS5 like a single player only console, but when you look at the lineup of games on there, that's what they're doing with it. And I think that's good because most games are actually multiplayer only now or microtransactions and really jam-packed with that. But we are missing like really good single player experiences. Is something that most games at best have like a 3-4 hour single player in there. So the fact that Sony's focusing on this little gap in the market, I think it's fantastic because I don't always want to play multiplayer games. I have meetings all day, I'm doing work, I'm always talking to people, and sometimes I just want to play on my own with some headphones on or a big massive TV and have the surround sound on or a headset and just really get lost, especially with obviously the 3D audio and everything on the PlayStation 5. Now, towards the end of last year, we had the launch of both the PS Portal and also the PS5 Slim, pretty much within a couple of weeks of one another. And for me, the PS5 Slim was a bit of a strange product. Like, great, it made the console a little bit smaller, but also you had to purchase like the disc drive as an additional extra. And again, the whole point of usually a slim variation of a console coming out latterly into the console generation is the price point gets dropped significantly. Like, look at the Xbox 360. You had the Xbox 360 and the Xbox 360 Slims. Price was like absolutely, I don't want to say a specific number, but almost like half the price of the original launch thing. Same with the PS3. PS3 was extortionate when it launched, then boom, when they came out with the PS5 Slim and then the Super Slim or whatever it was called, prices dropped drastically to like 150, 200 pounds instead of 400, 500 pounds when they initially launched. That didn't happen for probably the first time ever in the console generation with the PS5 Slim. It launched, if I recall, roughly the exact same price as a regular PS5, but this time you had to buy a disk drive as an additional add-on extra for around £80, and it didn't come with its vertical stand, which was another £30. So straight out the gate, again, you were 1-0 down as a Sony player. You had to spend a load of money on a load of stuff just to get a console that had all the features of the fat one straight out the box. So for most people, the best thing to do was actually purchase an old OG PS5 if there was old stock on sale around Christmas time, because a lot of offers were on at that time, whereas usually that's the opposite. It's usually get a great deal on the slimmer consoles. In addition to this, Sony also launched the PlayStation Portal, which was their attempt at a handheld cloud gaming device. Now, we've done videos on cloud gaming devices before, like the Logitech G Cloud. I think there's a gap in the market for these products, but specifically for Xbox Cloud Gaming, because like the G Cloud enables you to play like GeForce Experience, Xbox Cloud Gaming, and a whole bunch of other streaming services on the go with crazy amount of batch life. And as like the internet networks get more and more greater with stronger infrastructure, this is of course going to be a great way of playing for a lot of people, because the hardware is cheap, the batch life's long because it's not processing anything on the device, it's just streaming it across the internet. But having a bespoke first-party accessory that's locked in to basically just being PlayStation Remote Player only for around £200 or £250, whatever it was a bit of a bizarre product, because it only really functions as a remote player streamer from the console you've already got in your house, which works great if your TV's in a living room and you can't use the TV currently. You could stream it to that device and pick up some of the games. Great to still be sociable with the family, not to dominate the main master room in the house. See the gap in the market for that, especially for people that maybe 35, 40 that have got kids. They've got kids, they can't play on the console too much because either the kids want to play on it as soon as you boot up on the big TV, or the TV's occupied by the kids watching movies, or the family just wanting to use it as the master telly. And if you want to play some games at 9, 10 p.m. at night and still get some progression on some side missions, the PS Portal was a great little accessory that facilitated that for a lot of people that might not be able to, a lot of dads out there that might not be able to play on the big screen as much as they may want to. However, beyond that point, part of me feels like it could have potentially been a pilot test for a future PS Vita reboot, just to see how popular this product was. I love the fact it had the adaptive triggers built into the cloud gaming device. That's probably one of the biggest weaknesses of the Logitech G Cloud, is the fact that it don't have any force feedback in it, really. It has got feedback in there, but because you're streaming via Xbox Cloud Gaming, it isn't really supported. So it doesn't come through on most of those games. Whereas because this was a first-party Sony product, it natively supported their pretty fancy features, such as the adaptive triggers, which is a huge game changer when it comes to playing titles on a Sony console. Now, when it came to the controller on the Sony, I'm a huge fan of the DualSense Edge with the adaptive triggers. I think that actually is way better than the Xbox controller. Probably one of the weakest points of the Xbox this this generation is the controller. It's the exact same controller from the Xbox One. They didn't iterate on it or add any new features that makes it like cooler. It's just the same thing. I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But Sony did a brilliant job of bringing new experiences and excitement with the new PlayStation DualSense controller with those adaptive triggers. I can't tell you the amount of games that I've played on PlayStation instead of Xbox because of the super cool triggers. Even Call of Duty, like Xbox has just bought Call of Duty, but playing it on PlayStation's awesome because I love the adaptive triggers and feeling the different tension on the different weapons that you're using. Most people turn that off because they want to be more competitive. I don't really care. I just prefer to have fun with the game and still be just as good and learn how to use the different triggers and the muscle memory on those triggers. And for me, it's been probably one of the best selling points of the PS5. It's not just a little gimmick where you're like, oh, the controller can do this. It actually can, and it makes single player games in particular very, very good. If you've got a bow and arrow, you can feel the tension of the bow and arrow. And then even on racing games, like Gran Turismo, you can actually feel the detail and the lack of traction and so on within the tires and the feedback from the car driving really well through the controller, which is usually a huge issue with racing games. Like racing games with the controllers, usually not that immersive or very good at all. But the DualSense Edge has been super usable. Just had to do it, mate. Just had to do it. We're talking about racing games. Gotta let it sing. Maserati is... Oh! The car show might have been on this weekend. No way, look at all these Porsches, mate. Look at all these Porsches, man. We missed the car show. The car show was on this weekend. I'm telling you, mate, in this field. Everyone's just left it. What a great time to talk about Gran Turismo, which is better than Forza Motorsports. Well, while we're on it, let's talk about that. So Forza Motorsports was, of course, the equivalent to Gran Turismo. Now, I would say Forza Motorsport had the better graphics from my recollection off the top of my head. The ray tracing and everything was working really well on Forza Motorsport, whereas GT7 has only just got sort of ray tracing real time on the cars with the PS5 Pro, which they talk about in the recent showcase. But regardless if you like racing games or not, Forza versus Gran Turismo, I feel like that is a prime example of how strong Sony's first-party games have been. It epitomizes it. GT7 beat Forza Motorsports, and everything else Sony's released has beat anything that Xbox has put out. Starfield, think of that as we will. I thought it was fine, it met my expectations. Many gamers were disappointed. Halo Infinite, personally, very disappointed. Like, I played a bit of the single player, played quite a bit of the multiplayer, but it just wasn't that Halo vibe that I wanted. And then there's a whole raft of other Xbox games that have came out that I can't even remember. Like, that just sums it up. Like, genuinely, can't think of any like first-party exclusives on the Xbox figure. That was a banger. It's just nothing. Whereas Sony, we could sit here for ages and talk about even new PS5 exclusives that they released throughout the PS5 generation, or ones that they've remastered from the old PS4 generation, which of course had a lot of bangers as well, with like The Last of Us Part 2 coming to the PS5 and being like a revitalized with new energy. Overall, the games has just been incredibly strong on Sony's side of things, which is where they've beat Xbox. And I think that's just a common story across this generation for Xbox. It's like, where are the games? What games are worth talking about? And Sony's just had a lot of software in games that have really knocked it out the park, and also integrated all their accessories very well, with the PSVR 2 having quite a lot of VR modes in the likes of their first-party exclusive games like Gran Turismo 7. And of course, yeah, even God of War. We forgot about God of War Ragnarok as well. That was another one that I'd forgotten in that list of exclusives. But that's enough about the old PS5 and how it's been over the last few years. We kind of understand what that is. Let's talk about the new PS5 Pro and what this means for the future of PlayStation. If this hadn't came out this year, I'd have been a little bit worried about the Sony platform. Like, the Sony gamers would have had absolutely nothing to do this year. They've had no games at all, other than like games you could play on other platforms too. But the PS5 Pro is super exciting, but also super expensive. So this is going to be a completely brand new console that has got almost 45% more performance out of the GPU, and also massive gains in the CPU. Now, when Sony announced the PS5 Pro, they highlighted the issue that they currently have with the PS5, which is that around 80% of gamers are choosing performance mode over fidelity mode. And that's because fidelity mode usually runs at 4K 30 FPS, whereas performance mode, you're looking at 1440p, 120 FPS, or maybe 4K 60, depending on the title. Now, we were all sold the dream that the PS5 was going to be a 4K 120 console, but I can't really think of any games that have achieved that. Even really on the Xbox front either, most of them being 4K 60 at best. And I understand the frustration for people. They think, like, surely Sony could have just patched or optimized the PS5 to get more performance out of it. Because look at the Xbox 360, PS3, PS4. Think about how much the game developers really squeezed every ounce of performance out of that hardware before they then needed the PS5, the PS4 Pro, or the Xbox One X to take it to that next level. And I personally don't feel like game devs have done that at all with the current hardware that they've got. That's very impressive hardware at that as well. And I understand why the consumer's irritated. They've spent 400, 500, if not more, if they bought it from a scalper, on this next-gen console that's never achieved the stats that it was not promised to, but implied it potentially could. And then they've been told they need to buy another piece of hardware to achieve what they should have been able to achieve a couple of years ago when they bought the last one. And they feel like software optimization is the answer. And I agree. I think software optimization is the answer. And it almost is like game devs are a little bit like, whatever, we just need more power, more hardware, because they don't have the same amount of time that they once did to develop these games, especially because of like Xbox Game Pass and stuff like that. They're expected to churn games out at such a faster rate for these subscription services. PS Plus is also the same, for people to access it at a much faster rate. And then I don't feel like the game devs have got the resources they once had, because the profitability of the games is much, much lower because it's on a streaming service. You know, how can you make money when you've got a game, we've got hundreds and hundreds of games being streamed for $15 a month versus when people had to buy them for 50, 60 pounds at full price. So I understand the frustration from the game devs there, and that's why they're not spending this time on that additional optimization. They're just saying, well, we need more hardware and that'll be job done. So the PS5 Pro is an interesting release, especially coming this year. Like, the PS5 Slim only came out last year, so you would have expected the PS5 Pro to come out next year. And I think the biggest issue with the PS5 Pro when it got announced was the fact there was no new games announced with it. Like, Sony were literally like, oh, here's this new $700 console, please go and buy it. And then they didn't give you a reason as to why you should buy it. Like, this is a game that runs at 4K 120. like make it really worth checking out. It was just literally like, here is a new console for $700 that can play PS4 games, The Last of Us Part 2, at 60 FPS, which is kind of not what you want to see. You want to be like, here's a brand new Uncharted game. We're rebooting Uncharted, exactly what the fans want to see. And then, no, they didn't do that at all, which I think is why most people were a little bit annoyed. So in terms of the price point of the PS5, it is $700, and it's £700 as well in the UK, which makes it more like $800 if you then include the fact it don't come with, I think it's a disc drive at that price point, and also the vertical stand. You're looking at almost like an $800 to $850, £50 console, game console. That's like gaming PC territory now. And of course, a gaming PC are usually more expensive, but you can do way more on a gaming PC. You can use it for video editing, you can use it for homework, you can use it for a wide raft of different styles of games. You can learn coding on it. You can actually make money from a gaming PC when you use it. I edit all my videos on my gaming PC, and I'm now a YouTuber because I had a gaming PC. I could edit everything, whereas I couldn't have done that on a PS4, PS5 Pro. So the outlay of cash for an expensive gaming PC hardware is much more justifiable because of the things you can do with that as an asset in your household to learn skills, make money, and fund your gaming hobby or whatever it is that you want to actually do. Whereas the PS5 Pro is just dedicated cash on an unprofitable task, because fundamentally that's what gaming is. It's just a pastime task. You relax with it. It's unproductive unless you are turning it into content creation or something like that. Sure, it's great for your mental health, all them types of things, but whether you're buying it with your own money or whether you're asking your parents or someone to buy it for you, $700 is a very difficult sales pitch to convince them to part way with that money and get it into your house. But of course, the regular PS5 Pro isn't the only console that we're getting from Sony this year. They literally just announced a 30th anniversary edition of both the PS5 Slim and also PS5 Pro, and this is something that I am very excited about. Now, I remember back in 2014 when it was Sony's 20th anniversary since releasing the original PS1, and for that they released a PS4 that was all grey with all the cool PS1 designs on there and the OG Sony branding, which was insanely cool. And I remember me and my mates seeing this at school, and we were so hyped, and I was so close to getting one for like the standard sort of like £400, I think it was, for a PS4 back then, or at least this edition. It came with the camera and controllers and everything, and I didn't pull the trigger on it because I've got a I just literally bought a PS4 in white, and I was like, it's all right, don't worry about it. The console then went on to be worth like $3,000, like a proper collector's item, and I did pick one up latterly, which we have unboxed and reviewed on this channel many times. It's actually my most viewed YouTube short, like 18 million views or something ridiculous, me unboxing this super rare PS4. So I'm 1000% going to be pre-ordering one of the PS5 Pros and also one of the PS5 Slims that are in this OG 30th anniversary grey. I called it last year. I said last year they'll be doing the exact same thing for the PS5. They'll be doing these limited runs, 12,300 units of these consoles, just like they did with the PS4. But this time they've done a whole range of accessories to go with it. The PlayStation Portal's also available in the 30th anniversary grey. The PlayStation Edge, which is their Pro controller, is also available in the OG PS1 grey, and a few other things like a charging controller thing, if I remember off the top of my head. Now, this time with the PS5 Pro 30th anniversary edition, this does come with the vertical stand and all the different accessories. I think it does come with the disc drive as well. I need to triple check on that one. Maybe it doesn't on the PS5 Slim, but I think the Pro one does. But either way, it comes with all of the accessories pretty much. So you can expect the price to be a little bit higher. I think I did see a leak or a news article that it was over $1,000 for the PS5 Pro 30th anniversary edition. But hey, I'm gonna buy it because we got to unbox it for the videos, mate, haven't we? And also, I really want to buy it. That's why I want to buy it, really. But we need it for videos. I need to do it for videos. It's essential purchase. So I will purchase all of them. I'll buy a regular PS5 Pro, 30th anniversary one, and hopefully a 30th anniversary Slim. I'll just see what the queues are like on the website when I try and get one. And we'll review all of these and potentially give maybe the regular PS5 Pro or something away, because I don't need all these consoles. I'll have like 6 PlayStations at that point. In fact, comment "just do it" down below. We'll rip Nike off. Just do it. Comment that down below, and then also follow me over on Instagram, and that'll be an entry into the giveaway. We'll give away one of these PS5 consoles. I'll figure out which one it is once I've got my hands on them, depending on which ones we successfully acquire in the cart. But these 30th anniversary edition consoles look insanely cool. I can't wait to get my hands on them, and I love that Sony's done this. Like, they've done a PS5 Spider-Man limited edition console, which we did get our hands on at the end of last year. But other than that, they've not really done any limited edition consoles, a lot of limited edition controllers. So I like the fact they've kept it classy and done these OG grey ones, which is very, very nice. Xbox as well ain't done any limited editions really, other than the Halo Infinite one, and then that new Galaxy Black edition, or whatever it's called, which has got the 2TB drive. But I don't really count that as a limited edition console. They're calling it a limited edition console, but really it's just an Xbox Series X Elite, isn't it? Let's be real here. It's got boost storage on there and a little fancy design on it. Now, all of this new hardware is cool to talk about, but let's actually crack down on what you use the consoles for and the ways that you actually game. The biggest thing I talked about in my video about the Xbox and if you should buy one in 2024 was the way it's enabled me to take games on the go very seamlessly. Because Xbox has the integration with Windows, then there's also Xbox Cloud Gaming. I can play all of my Xbox games on my Xbox Game Pass account on Xbox Game Pass PC or Xbox on my Xbox. That was a lot of Xboxes in a sentence, but I hope you're following it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I can have one Xbox account and cross-play across my PC and my Xbox, which has made it brilliant because I have to travel so much for work now. That's filming at like different events or hosting live streams, just loads of stuff I never anticipated or ever have to do in a million years as a byproduct of making these videos. But it means I spend almost 60% of the year in a hotel room now. I'm never at home. I have to be away filming, hardly see family, hardly see friends. So the only way I can connect with family or friends if they game is via these handheld consoles when I'm on the move or via my gaming laptop, for example. And luckily with Xbox, because of the integration with Windows, I can play things like Forza Horizon 5 on my Xbox at home or on my PC and just cross-continue the saves and even use the Xbox party chat system. So all of my friends that are on consoles back at home who don't have PCs, I can still play with them exactly the same seamless without us being on different things like Discord and where things get a little bit clunkier that you have to start integrating. And this has been a complete game changer because without that way of playing on Xbox, literally on like an MSI Claw gaming handheld and then being on a gaming laptop, then being on an Xbox Series S or Series X when I am at home or in a hotel room or something and I can plug it in and got space to bring it with me, I wouldn't have been able to play anything. I'd have been completely out the loop of playing video games, which is fundamentally what I do or like doing and like making videos about. I've been able to play most of the games that I've been able to. And then the fact that we have Xbox Game Pass has allowed me to not have to outlay as much cash on games because I only need to play them for a few hours here or there, or they go on to Game Pass day one, so I've got enough time to just try them out and figure them out and whatever. So I don't need to spend loads of money on games that I don't have time to actually play as much, and I can just still check everything out because it's included in my little subscription every single month. These multiple different ways to play on different types of formats is something I think Microsoft's really leaning into, especially with what Phil Spencer said in a recent interview about potentially even being an official Xbox handheld console. It just feels much more dynamic and fresh to the approach that you need as a modern gamer, especially in this modern world where you can get to so many different places so easily. Now, I know for some of my younger viewers that watch this that just literally play at home in their bedroom or their game room or in the living room, this is something that they don't really care about. And I never used to care about it 2-3 years ago until I became like a young adult approaching 24 years old and getting older, where you do now have to travel for work and you're not at home to play games like you are when you're at school and things like that. And I understand what my brothers' issues they had when they got older, when they had to travel about and they just lost interest in games. It became something that was so massive in their life and then became nothing in their life because work took that time. Whereas the Xbox has enabled me to keep that hobby and interest there while having to be an adult basically, but playing on these handheld consoles in a new approach to gaming and a new format that's not like a Nintendo Switch or something rubbish. And unfortunately, I don't feel like the PS5 has that. Like, it's a very old-fashioned approach to gaming. It's literally just a console in your house. You've got your beautiful telly, you've got your beautiful living room setup, and that's all it does. Yes, there's the PS Portal that's tried to take it on the move a little bit, but it ain't what I just talked about, where you have a physical hardware device that can play offline with aeroplane mode, and you can still access your games and everything while playing on that GPU, on that CPU, and so on. Like, that's a bit of a deal breaker, and I would say this year, my time spent on Sony platforms and PlayStation has dropped drastically. Prior to that, I was mostly PlayStation and Xbox, even though I get called being an Xbox fanboy in a lot of my videos because I just do prefer Xbox because that was my childhood favorite console. But this year the slant has been huge. It's been mostly Xbox and PC, my Xbox Game Pass subscriptions specifically on those devices, and Sony's been right down here. I've only just recently started to check it back out with the PS5 Pro coming out, when I familiarize myself with the performance of the PS5 Slim, play some of those games on there again and just sort of get back into it before I jump onto the PS5 Pro and I can see its massive increase in its overall performance. And also with it being the end of the year, most of my travel's dying down now. I don't have to go overseas as much with events and stuff because we're coming into Q4, which is Christmas, so all the products that I've been flown all over the world to see before they come out will be coming out and I'll be reviewing them in the studio. So I have a good chunk of time where I'm normal again for like 3-4 months to just play the PS5 on a big massive TV in my studio, in my bedroom, or wherever it is that I've got it set up. And if that's how you prefer to play your games, obviously that works perfectly fine. It's the living room console, it's your gaming room console. But I do understand that there's a lot of people that love playing games that are business professionals or even students that have to leave home each term, and they can't always take that physical hardware console with them, especially the PS5 OG one, the fat one. That thing's massive in a suitcase. And just having these other options of platforms where you can access your cross saves and the multiplayer and the game libraries is just really beneficial. You can't really complain about it. It's more ways to play, more ways to access your games. It's always good, isn't it? But with all of that in mind, to sort of conclude this video, because you can play all of your games on PC that are exclusive on Xbox, and the fact that Xbox no longer really care about exclusives, like all of the Xbox exclusives, Indiana Jones and so on, are coming to PS5, albeit a little bit later, but they are coming to the PS5. I guess it does make sense to purchase a PS5 in 2024. It is the only platform where there are exclusive games on there that you can't get on PC, or if you can get them on PC, like God of War just came out on PC, but it came out like 2 years, I want to say almost 3 years later. So if you want to play them straight away, obviously the PS5 is the only route to market for that. And then if you want to play your Xbox exclusives, well, you can do that either on PC or even potentially on a PS5. A few months later now, with Sea of Thieves also even coming to PS5, and rumors that Halo might come one day, which is absolutely absurd statement for me to say, but it is being talked about a lot in the news recently. So if you are a gamer who wants the ultimate and the best of the best, I would probably say pick yourself up a PS5 Slim. They're going to be on sales and deals when the PS5 Pro comes out, without a shadow of a doubt. PS5 Pro might be a little bit too expensive, and let's be real here. Like, how many people actually have a 4K telly that does 120 hertz anyways? I think most people are still playing at 1080p, and they just want to play 1080p. So grab yourself that PS5 Slim. If you can grab yourself a deal towards the end of this year, save a little bit of money and even get yourself an Xbox Series S, and then you got the best of both worlds with both the platforms, or get yourself a gaming laptop. There's loads of awesome ones out there. You can even use that gaming laptop at school, at college, at work, and you can use it for video editing, other tasks beyond just gaming, and you can use it actually to make money as a source of making money, like go set up a Fiverr account or something and start editing YouTube videos for people. The possibilities are endless of what you could do with that piece of hardware. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to comment, just do it, and follow me on Instagram for the PS5 giveaway. And share your thoughts on if a PS5 is actually worth purchasing in 2024, or should you buy a PS5 Pro? All those different things. I want to see your thoughts down there.
Now, if you're still undecided as to which platform or console you should buy this year, you should check out this video next, where I break down the pros and cons of purchasing an Xbox in 2024. And I also discuss the exclusive game situation with Xbox and how that's no longer really a thing. But as always, I've been Ben Rollins. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.